Hey everyone! Over the past couple of videos, I've been putting together a series on how to do YouTube for complete beginners. This week, we're going to be talking about programming. We've already covered titles and thumbnails, so if you're looking for that information, you can check that out. We already have that up there. They are totally not required for watching this video. This video is separate. It's its own kind of contained thing. So if you just want programming advice, this is the place for you. So with that out of the way, let's just jump right into it. Programming is the idea of taking out our YouTube channel and actually picking videos to make and scheduling them out as to when we want to publish them. If you're not used to the term, you might be thinking in terms of computer programming. It has nothing at all to do with computer programming. It's based on the television idea when you talk about, here's our fall programming lineup. That's the kind of programming that we're talking about here. Programming at its very highest levels can be super complicated and super difficult. Going back to the television idea, they have to decide how to program basically every minute of 24 hours a day and how to optimize viewership around that. Really high-powered YouTube channels are going to have a pretty hard time of it too. Probably not that complicated, but still pretty complicated. If you're a complete beginner though, and you're just starting out, there's really two main questions that you need to be asking yourself. What's the next video that I'm going to make? And are there any special events that are coming up that I want to make a video about? To a lesser extent, you also want to know when to upload, but if you're just starting out, this isn't a question that you're going to have a ton of data for. We'll talk about it in a general sense, but if you're just starting out, it's not worth freaking out over. So the first question and the biggest question is, what video should you do next? If you run something that's super duper chronological, you have an episode 1 and an episode 2 and they follow one after the other, that's your programming. Congratulations, you have it figured out. If you don't have videos that run in an obvious chronological order, or you do have videos that run in an obvious chronological order, but you're also looking to do something new, this is where this question can become a big issue. I'm going to let you in on something. It's not going to be super pleasant, and you might not even believe me, but it's worth hearing from me right now at the start of your YouTube journey. You can get to a point where you feel you've run out of ideas and you're not sure what to make next. On day one, it is so super easy to think, yeah, I can name 5 videos off the top of my head. I'm sure I can think of hundreds more. And then you will go through those 5 videos off the top of your head and you'll be like, crap, I never thought of one more. That might be a little bit extreme as an example, but that can totally happen. This is where programming can come in. Alternatively, if you have a bunch of ideas, good for you, but you're not sure which one you want to do next, this advice is still helpful to you. How do we get to the point where we know what our next video is going to be and how to feel pretty good about it? So when you're first trying to program new content, a good place to start is to come up with some wider topics that are possible. By possible, I mean that one, you can feasibly do a video on that topic, meaning that you're comfortable with the amount of research involved, or if there's any resources that you think you might need, you already have those in place. Whatever it would take to make a video on that wider topic, you feel comfortable that you can do it. Also, when we say feasible, we mean that you'll feel pretty good making a video about that topic. So if I run a channel on outdoor activities, but I hate swimming and I don't like talking about swimming and I don't want to talk about swimming, don't even bother making a video about swimming because your audience is going to pick up on the fact that you actively resent making the video. They're not going to have a good time. You're not going to have a good time. Just don't even bother. So when we're talking about feasible topics, make sure it's something that you can actually do and that you actually want to do. If you're going to hate it, don't bother. Don't even include it in any kind of list. For the sake of example, let's say that I have a YouTube channel dedicated to sports that involve a racket. We'll call it Racket Attack. I am sitting here in a sort of imagined office space that I share with my boss, and we apparently sit at the same desk, and I'm spinning gold like Racket Attack. I'm just a little bit upset with myself, but also very proud of myself. So if I run this channel, I might start listing off topics that I feel good talking about. Let's say tennis, racquetball, and squash. Bear with me for a minute. You probably know which one of those is the most popular and most well-liked, but let's go ahead and research it. For a total beginner, I recommend using Google Trends. So let's pop over to a Google Trends page. So when you first open up the page, it's going to look something like this. There's going to be a lot of extraneous information. Don't even worry about that. Go ahead and search one of your topics. In this case, we'll search tennis. After it loads, it's going to show you a graph that looks kind of like this. There's one thing that we need to do that's extremely important. Over here where it says web search, we want to click on that and we want to take it down to YouTube search. This is going to make sure that our results are about YouTube specifically, because what people Google and what people search on YouTube is not always the same thing and should not be treated as the same thing. Always make sure you have it set to YouTube search before you go any further. You don't want to forget that. Sometimes it doesn't matter. It's good to get in the habit right now. So we'll go ahead and search our other terms. We'll search racquetball and we will search squash. Shock of all shocks, in this instance, tennis is the most popular. Although, what happened in March? Oh, stay-at-home orders happened in March. Probably people stopped searching a lot of sports around that time. I'm going to assume that the week of September 6th to September 12th was some kind of tennis tournament, and that's why it's super popular. Couldn't say for sure off the top of my head. Doing this search is a really good way to get a quick and dirty sense of which topic is the most popular. And if I feel equally as good about doing any of these three, this gives me a good starting point. Perhaps I should make my next video about tennis. Now, there are a few caveats that I want to get into here, but if I want to make a channel broadly about all racket-based sports, I can't be exclusively about tennis, even if it's the most popular. If you haven't done any of these topics before, going with the most popular topic is probably worthwhile. If you've done this topic in the past, you might want to start doing them in proportion. So if tennis is twice as popular as squash, maybe I want to make twice the tennis videos that I do squash, but I do want to make some squash videos. Racquetball is personally my favorite racket-based sport. This search has not been kind to my favorite racket-based sport, but also as a pandemic sport, you play it in a sealed environment with another person, and that seems awful. My heart goes out to you racquetball players. I just assume nothing's happening. So great, we've picked out a great topic. Now what do we do? So as before, where I wrote down 3 topics that interest me, so now I'm gonna pick out a number of video ideas that come off the top of my head that relate to tennis. Depending on exactly what I'm feeling like, this could be anything. This could be how tennis courts are made. I spelled it wrong. Funny tennis injuries. Weird tennis rules. I don't know that there are weird rules to tennis. And in fact, not enough data to show here. Doesn't leave a lot of confidence. Maybe clay courts versus grass courts. No. This is why I haven't started a channel on racket-based sports. It's because it's very fun for an example for me, but I am not informed enough to make up videos on the fly, apparently. Fastest tennis serve. There we go. There we go, that's got some volume. Longest tennis match. So if these were the ideas that I were interested in, I would probably center my video around the fastest tennis serves. And then I'd start thinking about it in terms of title, which gets me to my keywords, right? So then that gets into kind of the previous titling video where I need to think about its exact value proposition. So this is extremely firing from the hip, but maybe I'd say something like, can a tennis player serve faster than a peregrine falcon? Initially I had said cheetah, but I know it's true that a tennis player can outserve a cheetah. Cheetahs top out at like 70 miles an hour. A tennis serve, I believe, can top out at like 120 miles an hour. It's pretty obscene. For the record, I'm not insisting that you go out and make this channel or make this video. This is extremely a sample data set. And honestly, if this was the kind of data I was working with, I would probably keep workshopping it to see if I couldn't find something with a little bit more consistent of a play. Because you see how there's like these like little spikes and then it drops off. That tells me that these as terms are not searched much at all, even though one's more popular than the other. So I might try and play with it in a couple more ways. The other thing that you need to do is once you've started to pick out which terms seem popular, you actually want to go back to YouTube and then search those terms because they might be popular because there might have been some kind of trending video about it. So something that I've added in here is blue tennis court. You'll see that it was nothing, 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 and then it starts to pop up and it starts to be, you know, in recent months, basically as popular as any other search topic. Maybe I should make a video on blue tennis courts, right? Well, there's a reason that that's the case. And let's go over to YouTube and talk about it. So when we saw in Google Trends about 6 months ago, blue tennis courts started being just about as popular as anything else that we searched. If we see Colt Tennis made a 3.8 million view video about 6 months ago about blue clay tennis courts. So what happened is a video got really cool and then people were talking to their friends about this video and then some people started searching the video. The population of YouTube is not broadly interested in blue tennis courts. Somebody made a really cool video about it. If you make a video about blue tennis courts, you're not going to get the same kind of play. And in fact, you're going to be up against this super strong video. To clarify, you're always going to be facing competition, and the more popular a topic, typically the more competition you're going to face. The point here is that blue tennis courts is not actually a natively popular thing. Somebody made it popular by the force of a single solitary video. As that video runs its course, blue tennis courts will probably not be popular again unless somebody else does another really, really cool video on blue tennis courts. I should say blue clay courts. There's plenty of blue tennis courts that are like hard courts, but That's a whole thing. Yes, I did watch the video, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, that as a search term is not popular in the same way that the other terms may or may not be popular. Generally speaking, if you're just starting out, that's kind of what you need to do to come up with a good video and a good topic that you also feel good about. You might be wondering, can I just skip the part where I do the wider general topics and just research more specific video ideas? And the answer is, yeah, sure, you can. The only thing I might say to that is that it helps sometimes to commit to one wider idea and then narrow it down from there, rather than spinning your wheels coming up for specific video ideas and comparing a bunch of those against each other. So if you just say, I'm going to commit to making a video about basketball, or I'm going to commit to making a video about Iowa, or I'm going to commit to making a video about ice cream, and then going from there and narrowing it down, because at that point you'll feel good about the wider topic and you'll have a feeling that you're already on the right track. And then when you start to do narrower video topics, you can feel a little bit good that you've kind of hit on a good idea from like a general wider perspective. The other big question to programming is, should I make a seasonal video? So if there's an event that you care about coming up, like a holiday, or in the example of sports, if the postseason is coming up, you might want to make a special video about that specific thing. Generally speaking, doing seasonal videos is a good idea and we support and endorse it. 2 thumbs up from me. However, if this seasonal video is slightly outside of your typical wheelhouse, we should look into it more closely. So if I do a channel about baking desserts and the holidays are coming up, I can probably just do holiday cookies and be pretty confident that that's going to work quite well. If I do cooking in general and not just desserts or baking, maybe I want to examine the holidays a bit more closely. So for this, I'm going to go back to Google Trends. So in this cooking example, let's say we're talking about how to grill steak versus how to bake holiday cookies. As you might expect, near the holiday months, holiday cookies spikes way up in terms of interest. And if we widen the search parameters, we can see that this is true many years back, all around December 15th. Holiday cookies has a really strong window right around then. Seems like a slam dunk win, but here's something else to consider. How to grill steak. Obviously, how to grill steak is going to do better in kind of the summer months when holiday cookies aren't really a thing, but even around the holiday months, steak might have the advantage. Oh, so if you do a generalized cooking channel, then even though it's the holidays, you should make a steak-based video and not a cookie-based video. Well, not necessarily that either. There's a lot of not necessarities here. If you really love baking cookies for the holidays, your audience is going to pick up on that enthusiasm, so go for it. It could be a fun time. You'll also want to look at your own audience. If you do videos about desserts that do really well and entrees are a little bit weaker, then yeah, go for the cookies. Around holiday time, they're pretty close in performance, so do what feels naturally to you. That said, if we're thinking about doing holiday cookies before the start of November, just don't. And that's actually something that this view is really good at. If we look, there's a spike starting around mid-November and it peaks at about December 15th, and that happens just about every time. That gives me my kind of window. If we want to do a video on holiday cookies, it should really be in that window. If we want to do a video on steak, it can happen any other time. That's something else worth keeping in mind. The steak is very flexible and will generally do well. It would be absolutely best in the summer month, which makes sense because it's barbecue cookout season. Maybe it wasn't this time. Hopefully next year it will be again. Who knows? At the end of the day, the important thing is to research and play around and see, A, does this fit with kind of where you need a video to be schedule-wise? And B, is this event as big as you think it is? Does it have the kind of following where you'll actually feel good about the size of the potential audience? It's basically the same as asking what your next video should be, but there's a couple more steps and a couple considerations to add into there, and it's a little bit touchy-feely. And finally, I promised we would talk a little bit about when to actually publish your videos. If you're just starting out, first and most importantly, you should pick a time where you can sort of at least check in a little bit on a video. If you upload it in the dead of night, like 3 in the morning, and you're not gonna be awake to see that it actually uploaded, that can be kind of a problem. Even if you are just starting out, it helps to at least confirm that the video got published. So pick a time that you'll feel good that you can check in on it within like an hour or two. You'll probably want to check in on it sooner than that, but definitely within like an hour or two. If all days are equal and you're going for kind of entertaining content, typically shoot for the weekend. You probably don't have a ton of data yet, and entertaining content tends to do best kind of on the weekend. If you're going for more utility, like information like how to do something, we find that that typically does better around the middle of the week, so maybe you want to try for Wednesday. As you get more views and subscribers, when you get past like 1,000 subscribers or maybe 10,000 subscribers, and you start to get a better sense of when your audience is online from the analytics tab, you can start to make a more informed decision. But as a complete beginner, if it's entertainment content, shoot for Friday or the weekend. If it's utility content, shoot for Wednesday. When you're just starting out, it's not going to be the biggest make or break thing that's going to wreck your channel. Take a deep breath, exhale out, go with one of those 2 days. It'll probably work out just fine. And that is a very quick overview of programming for complete beginners. I hope this video has been helpful to you. And with that, thank you so much for watching. You can check out other videos we have on audience development over here. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like to let us know that you liked the video. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Little Monster for more videos on audience development every single week. See you next time. I remember seeing a thing on TV a really long time ago about somebody invented a racket, but actually no one used it, even if it was better, largely because it looked ridiculous and nobody wanted to look stupid. So